Welcome back to the Formula STEM Esports Cup presented by Brightspeed Fiber Internet. Let's go ahead and get into it now as we get our first sneak peek. This is exciting. Top Racing already going to be overtaken by Hardware, who's looking to jump into the equation as well. Now as they take P5 as the battle ensues. Ian Hawk going to be rattled around as well as Illegal Monkey was battling in that sequence that just knocks him off of it. It still ensues. Trying around the outside this time. Reinforcing Seagull trying to hold on. Inside they go, and Ian Hawk has taken P2.
In the top left, No Need Dude and James are now getting close together. He has now passed James with 3 laps to go. James needs to try and stay within range with Saturn on the wet tires. They are old, they are struggling, and they have now cost him 4 positions.
Here comes another interesting move too. Illegal Monkey decided to take the hards, which means that we're probably going to get an extra 2 to 3 laps as it's Collision City over here, over from the 7 to 10 place. There's a lot of drivers who just collided, a lot of car parts on the track as well, but somehow through all of that, No Need Dude stayed alive. That could have been a race ender, Bear.
Yeah, but Monkey with the DRS because he let James get in front of him. The beautiful timing will work out in what is a very tough moment on the brakes, and he will lose not just 1, not just 2, but 3 places here, Lane. He does have a lane. Slight slide from 24K King. All 3 drivers in a direct line. 24K goes wide. Here comes Top Racing into the podium places in 2 laps time, but he is still on the tail of the other 2. Illegal Monkey and No Need Dude, who are trying their best to defend, but 24K King might make a run of his own. Way down the outside. Does make his way around. Does stick it as well. An early thriller here, Lane. Squeaky Hardware is going to get the inside, though. Finding time, hard on the gas pedal. Will be able to sweep right back in, getting dangerously close to the ghost of No Need Dude. Does take a little bit of gravel, but again, these collisions, they're turned off for the time being. So these drivers, they can continue to just race as is, and Hardware taking full advantage of that.
Nearly 100 students, 50 high schools, 18 states, and now only the top qualifiers remain. Tonight marks the finale of a groundbreaking season designed to bridge the gap between racing and STEM. The best high school sim racers in the country face off under the neon lights of Las Vegas. This is the Formula STEM Esports Cup Finals, presented by Brightspeed Fiber Internet, where education meets high-octane competition, $4,000 in scholarship prizing, 1 title on the line. It all comes down to 25 laps through one of the fastest, flashiest circuits in the world, the Las Vegas Strip Circuit. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the grand finale of the Spring 2025 Formula STEM Esports Cup. I'm Bearlight, and let me tell you, the energy here tonight is electric. We've seen these drivers grow, compete, and rise through the ranks, and it all comes down to this. Joining me trackside as always are 2 of the sharpest minds in the game, calling every turn and tactic here tonight. DJ's own DJ TJ, and the one and only Lane X as well, fellas. How are we feeling about the showdown ahead? Because it's going to be a good one, Lane.
It's going to be amazing to see how the season is going to get wrapped. It is a fantastic opportunity to be around here with my friends in casting. And, yeah, like you said, like you called it out, creating those narratives, highlighting the best moments we had in a lot of different racetracks.
Man, a lot going on here tonight. TJ, you're not feeling the best, I've heard, but listen, you still have the energy to show up and looking good despite everything behind the scenes.
Looking good may be a stretch, but I am here alive and decently well. It's the 8th week of the Formula STEM Esports Cup. You're going to hear me fighting my own battles, but I'm more worried about what's in front of us and what's in front of the racers as well today. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, it all began back on March 13th with the first drivers meeting where we got to know these students. So, TJ, the drivers you all have been seeing all season long for the very first time is when we saw them was on that March 13th drivers meeting.
Well, that first drivers meeting into the very first preseason race as well, that was the perfect start to the week. There are so many different personalities within these schools and their programs and their student bodies to focus on, and some are the sole representatives of their schools. Some have teammates at the same high schools. It's these storylines that we would have never imagined could have gotten to this point where we could write books upon novels on these students. It's just so cool to see how far we've come since then.
Oh, of course, because the preseason race at Barcelona began late March there, Lane, but we've seen these drivers progress over time. They've really been growing like crazy as far as their driving skills and competition level.
Yeah, I love how the preseason in Spain definitely showed us some early talents, but did not tell the entirety of the story. As we could tell, some new names appeared over the following weeks, so it was an amazing chance to get things warming up. But definitely, we had so much more happening.
Well, part of this growth as well from these drivers can be attributed to the test sessions that we hosted every Thursday before race day the following week, where our professional drivers broke down the need-to-know info on each track. They strengthened their own unique race styles as well and what to focus on in those upcoming races in addition. So I want to give a huge shout-out to Ryan Vargas and Dawson Cram for their involvement in the Spring 2025 Formula STEM Esports Cup. They did such an incredible job on stream. And that brings us to today, TJ. The stakes never been higher. Just one race to determine our champion, and a driver must be able to deliver under pressure here in the biggest stage of their young sim racing careers.
I mean, you've gotten technically 7 races with some form of stakes, 6 regular season races where you directly earn points to get to this point. Every driver here today has earned their spot. So yes, there is plenty of pressure on these drivers, and technically it is a clean slate for everybody involved, but there is still a lot of rivalry and a lot of stakes and bragging rights, not even to mention the actual prizing, which we'll touch on later. So yes, pressure is high, but these drivers deserve to be here.
A good calm focus will be the key to success here today. Lane, a great way to get there is to just have fun with it, to be honest. So being able to compete for a sim racing title here today, come on, man. There's nothing like it.
There's nothing like it, and as you said, well, they had the chance to craft their skills during the season, show their qualities in different scenarios and stages, and today's especially about having fun as well, enjoying Las Vegas within the racetrack and out of it as well.
Well, where else can you compete for $5,000 in scholarship prizing, learn about STEM jobs in racing, pathways necessary to get to those jobs as well, and, of course, being successful in the execution of an initiative just like this and bridging that gap between sim racing, STEM learning would not be possible without our amazing partners. The fuel that has allowed our team to move the Formula STEM Esports Cup forward at record speeds and efficiency is Brightspeed Fiber Internet. I want to give them a huge thank you for their support as well, not only in the formation and testing of the Cup this season, where students were introduced to STEM jobs in racing and competed this inaugural season, but also our shared vision of the future as well. New Brightspeed Fiber Internet is here. It's the ultra-fast internet that you've been waiting for as well. Now everyone in your house can stream, they can game, they can do more, all at the same time. Brightspeed technicians ensure your fiber internet works all over your house, so you can too. No more searching for that one spot in the house to take your video call. Don't settle for slow and unreliable anymore. Switch to Brightspeed today at go.staypluggedin.gg/BrightspeedApril. Again, that's go.staypluggedin.gg/BrightspeedApril. Limited availability in selected areas. You can use !Brightspeed in chat. And in the upcoming seasons, we're actually very excited to announce the inclusion of project-based learning on STEM topics. It's something that we've seen in Players League, also here on Stay Plugged In. So you get that same gameplay experience, guys, that we've experienced all season long. And if you want to be able to learn about those STEM subjects, what better way to do it than to go hands-on, by the way, as well. So you love that, too. Well, this Cup isn't just about winning races. It was also about winning knowledge, too. Throughout the season, we showcased how this experience connects directly to real-world careers in motorsports and STEM. From mechanical engineers to data analysts, event managers to physiotherapists, there are the roles that power every race team. Let's take a quick lap through the STEM jobs in racing that shaped this Cup and could shape your future as well, starting with the mechanical engineer lane. Their job doesn't end with just building the car. They also need to be able to maintain that car as well.
Absolutely. Setting the car for the peak performance, but also solving real-time issues, as we know through data analysis that end up rolling, right, in different scenarios and different race tracks. So it is a very, very key role that, on the top of everything, makes sure that the team and the drivers stay within the FIA regulations. It is about keeping the car fast and reliable, not only that, but safe and good to go and beat the opponents.
Yeah, many would say that the path as well to this job is obvious. Just get a mechanical engineering degree. Although that is true, and one pathway to get there. There are actually multiple paths that you can pursue here. You know, math, physics, computer science, for example, or just a couple of those. F1 in schools, robotics engineering are some of the clubs you can take. Plus, you can get those degrees, like we mentioned, of course, mechanical engineering. But automotive, electrical, and motorsport engineering at schools like IUPUI, UNC Charlotte, my alma mater, by the way. Let's go. proud representing Michigan, or at a community college as well. So hands-on internships too. So I love the fact that we're also providing entry-level roles like junior design engineer. I would have had no idea going to LinkedIn that, for example, or wherever you get your job sites or wherever you're looking for jobs, what to apply for. And while we talked about the analysis and research that a mechanical engineer uses to test and maintain those cars, that's just one avenue of research that the data strategy analyst is responsible for. Lane, as we've learned, this team gathers to execute on preparation and decision-making for the race. Reminds me almost of mission control, the way they line up in the Apollo missions back in the day.
Yeah, I liked how the data and strategist analysts combine, information from the driver and from the competition racetrack, for example, itself. So it is about setting all those informations together and making sure that your team keeps competitive. It is a tough job. It's a smart people job, but I'm sure that many of the students are going to be interested in following this path.
Yeah, and think about the many things that you have to think about as well when you're trying to make a call, right? What tires do we bring in? What time frame? When do we pit, right? All of that strategy plus more. I mean, we talked about how it goes hand in hand with the mechanical engineer. How do we make sure that we get a fast race car? But also, what are other race cars and race teams doing in preparation? So I like that too. The pathways to get there, as you see on your screen, lots of math, lots of physics, of course, data science, computer science as well, but junior data analyst could be one of those, as well as what looks like the inside data technician, trackside data technician here, as I just cleared up my pathway there. And so that's how you can get a job there as well. So now you've got your car built, guys. You've got it tested. You got a team building out your game plan for next weekend, so now you got to make sure that you get there and to the racetrack on time, and that's where the operations and logistic manager comes into play. And Lane, we've got 24 races across 5 different continents. You got to have a game plan on how to get your resources and your crew to that destination.
Absolutely. You need someone to take care of that smooth movement, right, of scenes and pieces from one country to the next one, because usually, as we know, they gonna have 2 to 5 days to build the entire full team bases wherever they need to be. So it is a very challenging work again and job position. Very, very interesting one as well, Bear.
Studying business operations in school is an obvious pathway, but let's check out the other avenues that you can get to as a operations and logistic manager. Math is still present, but this is more so, again, business, geography, languages, being able to connect with others that are on site, right? How do we manage a team of about 50 to 100 individuals? Certainly, you want to make sure that you're very familiar with being able to connect, communicate, and that's all part of the process here, as well as supply chain management. Obviously, how do we not only have the right amount of parts, but how do we get it to the location as well? So Purdue, Stanford, really good places to be there. A logistics coordinator, assistant, or supply chain analyst are some good jobs to get you there as well, which you love to see too. All right, well, you've gotten your race team to the track. Now you got to let the world know that you're ready for battle and begin you got to build the brand of your race team at the end of the day. And as a marketing specialist, it's not just about simply posting pictures and captions on social media. No, Lane. It is more than that.
It is way more than that. You're going to make sure that the brand, that the image of your branding company and team are nice and are definitely going out there, not only within the sports boundaries, but outside of it as well. It is a key role as much as the other ones, Bear, to keep fans engaged and sponsors satisfied.
Oh, 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you have not only the pieces, the content to put out there, but you're constantly organizing the team, knowing when to post, being able to connect with others too, boost your brand visibility, fan engagement. That's not exactly, something that comes without being able to really think about who you're speaking to as an audience. So you always have to keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and check out how to maybe potentially become, a marketer at the end of the day, a marketing specialist specifically. Math is important for a ton of fields, but it's not necessarily for everyone. So in marketing, you do get a break on it. But like we mentioned, there's still other areas of focus. Economics comes back into play. Business, marketing, for example. English could be another study set as well. Art and design, foreign languages, IT, psychology. Plenty of ways that you can get into marketing because the team is so deep there as well. Pennsylvania, Penn. Right? University of Michigan, for example. These are good schools to go to. Internships always do not hurt, so make sure that you're looking for those, as well as entry-level roles like marketing assistant or social media assistant as well. Now the world knows that your team is at the track. You're ready to roll. Now it's time to create the best experience possible at an event. And that's what the event manager is here to do. Job number 5, event manager. Late at the end of the day, people are paying tickets to come and watch your team in action. So how do you make sure that the fans get their money's worth?
Yeah, and make sure that they're going to have everything from the experience to telling about that after through organizing the schedules, coordinating that with sponsors and vendors to budgets and logistics. So it's all about syncing all those moving parts, right? To have and to offer a smooth experience to everyone who stops to see the drivers in action. It's a very, very much key backstage work. And again, without managers, you cannot do much, to be honest.
Yeah, in a world where you have to see the full picture here as an event manager, there's so many moving pieces, right? You have to be able to manage those pieces, be able to communicate them in addition to that. Event manager is all about making sure that all of those pieces come together. And so as you're fitting these puzzle pieces together, here are some of the areas that you can focus on for a student interested in becoming an event manager rather. So you have studies like business, economics, marketing, and foreign language in high school. You have event-related clubs like student government. F1 in schools, a huge way. I was able to go out to the live event there, and that event manager position could certainly help in that way. And that's one way is to learn how to put together something like this. Sports management also helps. Hospitality at schools, like Central Florida is a good one, Iowa State as well, but there's plenty other ones that do develop these kind of skills. And at the end of the day, you're looking for event assistant, event logistics coordinator, or just an operations role at Stay Plugged In. We got plenty of those for you. Event manager is a key role there, no doubt about it. Now that the wonderful event that these teams have put together is live in action, it's time to, put the broadcast team together, put on a show. And the sports commentator is here to tell the story and bring it all to life. Lane, I've heard it said a million times, hey, I'm great at talking about this sport, so I should become a commentator. As you know, it's a lot more than that at the end of the day.
It's a lot more. You got to prep yourself. You got to also improv in the middle of the work. You got to make sure that you offer clarity points for the audience, of course, for everybody who's watching the actual broadcast. So it is a magical, fantastic job position. Again, very creative one, to be honest, Bear, that can require a lot of preparation through college and high school, of course, but it can also be built through the work itself, on the field.
And then, Lane, I'd like to toss it back to you, actually, for a second. I know we didn't, cover this before, but I'd love to kind of hear your experience, how you got started into casting. Maybe get some real-time, feedback as far as how maybe somebody would want to become a commentator.
Absolutely. You gotta make sure that, you choose a nice game or sport to cover. You gotta study a lot about this sport. And then after that, you begin practicing, you begin offering yourself in the beginning of your path, maybe to championships, to community events. And that's how you're gonna get to be known eventually, especially these days, Barry, through social media. It is an essential work to make the broadcast even better.
Yeah, research shows that public speaking is one of humanity's top 3 fears, and that's a pretty big part of what commentary is at the end of the day. So you got to face it. You got to truly conquer it. At the end of the day, you got to make sure that you're ready to go, have a lot of talking points prepared, make sure that you're constantly studying about what happened last week, pull it into the next week as well, to create that story and truly bring it to life over the course of a couple of weeks and throughout the entirety of a season. And finally, full team that we've covered here. So all the 6 jobs and more, we didn't cover them all. I mean, we only have a limited amount of time. All of these team members need to make sure that they stay healthy along the way. And it seems, if that seems like something you're good at, making sure everybody's healthy along the way, consider pursuing the role of physiotherapist. Lane, your full team can be on the road for up to 10 months during an F1 season. Yeah, 10 out of 12 months during the year, which is crazy to me. Can take quite the toll on your body at the end of the day.
Yeah, it requires a lot of preparation, right? Physically speaking, the physiotherapist is going to make sure that the driver have meal plans. You're going to make sure that they have the healthiness, and that they're fit and strong enough to also hold the pressure of the car in the case of the driver. As we know, there's a lot of physics involved against the body of the driver. So all these elements require an essential and active participation by the physiotherapist.
Yeah, and contrary to popular belief, you don't necessarily have to get your doctorate. You don't have to go to school for 12,000 years in order to become a physiotherapist. But at the same time, there are some areas of study that you do want to focus on. Biology, chemistry, PE, math, psychology also is very natural, is one that you would figure is the case. But there's just so many things that you can pursue, right? Sports science, for example. These are all avenues that really get you started and in the right direction. And physiotherapist assistants, being an assistant, being it hands-on, and being able to see it firsthand is one of the easiest ways to get involved here. So that was the job recap here. We appreciate you going through those. And TJ, you were sitting back watching all these jobs kind of unfold here. Which one was piquing your interest? And you can't say sports commentary. I mean, that's too easy of an answer.
Well, I mean, no matter where you end up working, I think working in racing in general would be an absolute blessing. But I think my personal take is marketing specialist, getting to create graphics, getting to create the storylines before they actually hit a broadcast. Also, getting to work within Photoshop or within any sort of Adobe style studio app. I mean, all of those applications are awesome. They are fun to use. And if you know how to maximize your skill in that field specifically, you can make some incredible graphics. I shout out the McLaren racing team. I've done that before this season. I'll do it again. Go check McLaren's Esports Twitter. Go check their Instagram. Go check their YouTube. They do a really great job at marketing. It just seems like such a fun field.
Yeah, Lynn, I feel like you're the same way, man. I know you've done content for a very long time.
I have. I love the marketing area, but when it comes to challenging myself and getting out of my comfort zones, I would go for events manager, to be honest. I would love to have a taste of prep and stuff, having the chance of obviously getting ready before, but also having to deal with the improvisation over the course of the facts and the racetrack itself. You know, traveling to some certain place, having to deal with new factors would be amazing as well, man.
Where would you like to visit most? If you had to guess, if you had to visit any of the racetracks or elsewhere, just in general, where would you want to visit?
I mean, I would be very much like challenged when it comes to thinking about a place, but you know, the two places that come to my mind are either Monaco or Australia, right? Both places very F1 traditional.
No doubt. All right, I'll throw the same thing to TJ. If you were to visit any F1 race that you haven't been to before, what are you looking at?
I think I'm either going Miami or I'm going to Lane. I'm going to Brazil.
I love it.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah, you love it. Well, listen, we'd also like to shout out our core crew at Stay Plugged In for providing insights like these, by the way, you know, where to find these jobs at the end of the day, and for carrying out the operations of the Formula STEM Esports Cup at its very core. I mean, the tight tournament organizing, the beautiful broadcast that you've experienced this inaugural season has been made possible by the hardworking team members at Stay Plugged In. Stay Plugged In, the leading esports recruiting platform for college scholarships, invites you to create an account today for free at staypluggedin.com. Begin connecting with our vast network of 450 plus colleges, expand into more of our esports and work-based learning initiatives similar to Formula STEM Esports Cup, Players League comes to mind, and competing in front of colleges at one of Stay Plugged In's in-person or virtual recruiting events. You gotta visit staypluggedin.com to start your journey towards finding your future in esports at staypluggedin.com. From the pit wall to the front office, the careers are vast, but at the heart of it all are the students, the rising stars of sim racing, and maybe one day, real racing too. Let's go ahead and meet those future faces of racing now, because every driver who has made it here tonight has had a story, a path filled with ambition, grit, and maybe even a bit of chaos too. I know we've seen plenty of that. We sat down with a few of the standouts to hear what brought them to the Cup and what they've taken away from it. Let's start with a name that's been making waves all season long, Squeaky Hardware.
So my name is Christopher Carmona, mostly known in the chat as Squeaky Hardware, and I'm representing Ramtech 59 from Miami Core Park Junior High School, located in Miami, Florida. Honestly, what motivated me the most was the possibility of becoming an actual racing driver. You know, the rush, the adrenaline, just overall being a driver for any type of motorsports is my biggest dream. My experience for these weekly GPs has been really nice, honestly. Like, as my first time in a simulator, I find it a really good community. The drivers are really clean driving. You know, I feel like I'm actually in Formula One. Like, this is fantastic, man. I really love this, and I really look forward to getting into the playoffs so I can continue here, man. For meeting these amazing people that we have here, this is gonna be my best experience in the year. Like, and for the prize, if I win that would really help me on the racing careers or any other projects that I have. For example, now that I'm a president for a club for RC cars, that would help me with the equipment and all that. Any driver for motorsports or any enthusiast would love being here, I'm telling you.
And listen, we loved seeing him compete this year as well, constantly battling for top 5 spots, even earned a podium spot in the Belgian GP. So definitely working hard to reach those dreams, Lane.
Oh yeah, Squeaky Hardware showing that he's a humble kid, even though he's a very aggressive driver. I like the combination. I like how active he is actually as well. And you know, the adrenaline that he mentions totally matches him as a driver as much.
Yeah, look good, race good, right, TJ?
Oh man, that Mercedes jacket is top tier apparel to wear during one of these races. Now, I'm sure that jacket gets a little hot based off how he races, so hopefully he's maybe got a fan nearby or a fan above him or something like that, or at least some water ready to go. But yes, no, dripped out compared to any other driver for sure.
And how about the leadership, too? He said he started a club. He's a president of a club of RC cars they create, I believe. That's pretty cool, too. He used that prize money there also. But also with a bid to the championship here tonight by podium finish, 24K King. Here's what he had to say about joining and competing in the Formula Stem Esports Cup.
Hi, my name's Nicholas Cook. My gamer tag is 24K King, and I go to Park Crossing High School in Montgomery, Alabama. What motivated me to join the Formula Stem Esports Cup? I enjoy racing, and I was like, wow, I like racing for fun. The money added in is a bit of a bonus, but I primarily enjoy for the racing part. No, my experience so far has been pretty good. I've enjoyed the amount of races we had. These races has been just fun. Like every race is a new challenge, and I just enjoy it. I feel like we're going to win because strategy is a real main thing. So I feel like my strategy is better than most. I feel like I can be a real contender and actually challenge for this win coming up in Vegas, and I'm looking forward to that. Winning the whole thing, that would be something, man. It would mean a lot to me, not just the winning a race, winning in the game, but just the amount of stuff it would do. That prize money is going to go to a lot. I would just be head over heels. I would be excited.
You know, I think a lot of people underestimate the power of just having fun with it, to be honest. 24K King is definitely that dude, Lane.
Oh yeah, he is so serene, right? So confident and obviously so humble. And yeah, I mean, such a good driver. I gotta tell you, I want to see what he's gonna be up to today.
24K King there, TJ. You got to hear a little bit from him. Your thoughts?
An extreme series of up and down results, but I'm glad that he's just having a good time and giving it his absolute best. That's what it's all about, and I do believe there's high hopes for 24K King coming into Vegas today.
No doubt about it. Well, another driver in the mix coming into the championship with a top 10 finish in the standings is Illegal Monkey. Here's his take on the cup and what it means to him.
So my name is Antonio Garcia, and my current username on STEM Esports is Illegal Monkey. I go to West Leiden High School, and I'm from Chicago, Illinois. What motivated me to join was actually my friend Rodrigo, which is No Need Dude, and he invited me. He sent me the whole info. After that, I just noticed that there was also money involved, and I'm pretty good at the game, so I thought maybe it's a chance for me to make some money and help out my family. The most rewarding part for me as a driver would probably be the exposure. I take clips sometimes from the live streams, and I put them into my own social medias. Like, I make clips for myself, so that exposure actually helps me out get into just from esports. Not only that, it can also help me with my actual racing career. I actually quit my job to progress with the tournament. Now I get home at 4 p.m. I practice from 4 p.m. to around 6 p.m. I try all types of stuff, time trials, try to beat my time record, see where I could gain time. So I think I'm going to win the Formula STEM Esports Cup is because I just managed to have my strategies work like how I plan to. As long as I don't make a mistake, I could for sure win that tournament.
This man quit his job and is putting in hours. Plus, he's talking about creating videos and getting his name out there. Talk about a dedicated competitor there, Lane.
Oh, I love how much of a grinder he is. Yeah, absolutely dropping the job to dedicate more, and he's going to go even better over time as well. He's such a talented kid, such a talented driver, has surely evolved during the season. We're going to talk more about him and his own style. But yeah, making sure to, you know, do his best today, make the best calls.
No doubt about it. TJ, he quit his job, dude.
Hey, I don't blame him. Have you seen his social media content? Because I have. I got a lot of respect for what Monkey's doing. I've seen the reels and TikToks Monkey's been putting out. Most specifically, I heard my own voice very recently in the last race when there was a controversial safety car DNF. So I've been featured in some of his work. I got a lot of respect for what he does. So you know what? Why not? You're in high school. Go pursue it. You only have to quit working for about 2 months' time. I'm sure he's got a summer job lined up. So hey, I'm all for it.
Let's go. Well, we mentioned it a week ago, and you heard it from Illegal Monkey himself as well. He's close to No Need Dude. So let's go ahead and hear from him. Yes, your points leader now. Here's No Need Dude.
My name is Rodrigo Diaz. My username is No Need Dude. I go to Westland High School and I represent North Lake, Illinois. My experience as a racer for the Formula STEM Esports Cup has been pretty good. I think that it really motivated me to practice more, way more than I would have ever thought of practicing. And of course, meeting new people that like to race as well. I think that I've always wanted to do something with racing or with cars. So just doing this, it brings that further. So the streams, when they do show something such as a race engineer or race mechanic, it just shows you the possibilities of what is inside the motorsports world, and that there's more to racing than just being a race car driver. Winning the Formula STEM Esports Cup to me would mean I would probably use that money for karting, try to get into the racing world.
I just find it so interesting that the man #1 in points, who can completely take over races, is the only one mentioning that there's more to racing than just being a race car driver. This man has quite the deep understanding of what it takes to be successful, Lane.
Oh yeah, I love how much of a deep digger on that he is, and such a serene kid as well. You know, he's either cold-blooded, listen, or he is a very, very much well-behaving guy, because he's so chill, and I want to see all that calmness and this chillness inside of the racetrack today as well.
Yeah, tough competitor, man of few words, it seemed like. He didn't say a whole bunch, but he did allude to the fact that he dives deep on these topics.
I mean, hasn't talked much all season, really, and Dark Room, nonchalant, hasn't talked. No Need Dude's about as locked as it comes. So very excited to see if No Need Dude, after such a successful season, can actually bring it home when it matters the absolute most.
All right, guys, well, let's quickly go over the week-by-week breakdown of how the season played out. We started with week 1 in the Red Bull Ring in Austria, where we saw Top Racing really get off to his hot start there. 24K King hit the podium, as well as Ian Hawk, so those are some names that we really got a quick eye on their Lane.
Yeah, we gotta talk about them actually, because they were looking like they're gonna set the pace throughout the rest of the season. Now, it was much the case for Top Racing, but we could see that 24 King, specifically and Ian Hawk, they had some instabilities on the following racetracks, you know, changing final results. But it's all about summing that all up to date. Today is the day to make it all right.
Quick keys from UTJ as far as what happened in week 1 there.
Yeah, I mean, week 1 was about as normal as it's been all season. It was the most consistent result based on our final point standings. Top Racing did what they were expected to do. Came out, showed out, cruised all the way down into P1. 24K King, big rookie start for them. Looked great all the way through. And Ian, who's been a contender for the entire season, no surprise, was able to lock down P3. It was a really nice warm-up, and it also provided some great clips as well, because the collisions were pretty bad that week.
Yeah, they certainly were. It caused a little bit of change of pace, if you will, as, you know, you had some shifts there in some of the safety car rulings and things like that. But Monza is where it kicked off, and we actually got to interview Top Racing. He actually fell off and crashed a little bit earlier in that one, so did not finish at Monza. It was No Need Dude, and he started his legacy from their lane.
I was going to touch on that point precisely because that's when he made his first appearance in the season, already showing Top Racing that the rest of the work was not going to get that easy. And also we had Nico Bico, right, appearing, showing off as a talented rookie, already locked himself up into the playoffs for today. So it was a very, very good change of scenario. And not only that, if Austria was well behaving, Monza was kind of chaotic. I was with TJ also casting those actions and decisions as well.
Cool. TJ, anything to add here on Monza? I know it was kind of a crazy one in a little bit ago.
Yeah, the drama was there, for sure. I believe it was Ian Hawk who came out of the pit lane and spun going into turn 1, and it was later in that race. That was one of the crazier moments, but it also started the dynamic of, yes, we have our best 2 racers, undoubtedly, Top Racing and No Need Dude, but from that week on, the next question is, can they actually fight again? And Bear, week 3 kind of gave us, well, somewhat of an answer to that question.
That's right. We headed over to Interlagos, and it was Top Racing, No Need Dude, and James is the MVP. Maybe not the MVP of that race, but certainly hit the podium there, Lane.
It was interesting to see that new name, in fact, coming up, and as TJ posed, yeah, it was the first time we could see No Need Dude and Top Racing together in the podium, and that never happened again after Brazil. We have to be honest here, they never got together in the top 3 in the end of the day, because it was either one or the other, of course, alternating on that leadership on that peak.
No doubt about it. That was week 3. TJ, anything there? Obviously, the top 2 finished right where we thought they would.
Some drivers are wet drivers, some are dry drivers. Top Racing and Noni Dude can do both, but Top Racing showed a major strategy move, decided to pit earlier than Noni Dude, and got a huge race-ending victory because of that. Was ahead by, I believe, 10 or 15 seconds, something absurd, so big shout-out to Top Racing there. But also James, easily deserving of a podium spot, an incredible wet scenario driver, and had a decent gap as well between the rest of the grid. So that was one of our more spaced-out results. But the 3 most deserving drivers that week in the wet did make it happen. It was our only wet race of the year, and it delivered.
Over the Belgium, we went for week 4 as Spa-Francorchamps is where we ended up, where Noni Dude, Squeaky Hardware, and Illegal Monkey, those were the 3 to round out the podium there, Lane.
It was an interesting race right after all the madness that we saw in Brazil, indeed, with a lot of, pit stop strategies and tire strategies, a lot of situations that we could just see in Brazil. But after that, indeed, Spa-Francorchamps brought Squeaky Hardware, for example, to the very, very much top of the drivers. And the racetrack itself brought him into the conversation as much, Bear. It was a great opportunity to see that name also stepping up.
Yeah, Noni Dude was just feeding off of his P2 from the week prior and then just got on top of things and never looked back. TJ, your thoughts?
Tough one. Yeah, so I was about to say, I was waiting for my name to be called. No, it was a tough one for Top Racing. Did have another slight damage incident, but also genuinely could not find pace in Belgium. Not to mention that Hardware and Illegal Monkey have been waiting for their moments to shine. They were consistent point getters up to week 4. They were just waiting for their moment to actually fight for a top 3 spot. That race to the end, that was our first major P2 fight of the season. It came down to, and Lane, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was 0.3 of a second at the time between those 2.
Yes.
Something absolutely wild. It was less than 0.5 easily. And it was very entertaining. That rivalry is a key point of today, which I'll save for later.
There you go. Week 5, Silverstone Circuit. We went to the UK where Noni Dude continued to just be dominant. At the end of the day, P1 spot there. Joseph, though, able to hit that, and he looked extremely good. He has been improving like crazy. Also started off pretty strong. I think it was more his consistency as time went on there and his ability to take less chances, be more, mindful of his decision-making there, too. And Squeaky Hardware to round out that one, too. Lane, your thoughts?
Yeah, I love how Squeaky Hardware kept the progress, since Spa-Francorchamps the previous week, like you said. But yeah, not only these 2 guys, obviously Squeaky Hardware and Noni Dude, but we're talking about Joseph stepping up, right? He was getting ready for that. He was improving his numbers, to be honest, since, if you will, Monza, right? He didn't go as perfect as he wanted, but then, yeah, he was locking himself up into the playoffs on that very occasion of Silverstone. So it was a good race as well, Bear.
Yeah, TJ, Joseph, and Squeaky Hardware, they're starting to show up towards the end of the season. UK was a good spot for them.
Joseph didn't have a major stream highlight moment other than his low light in the preseason. So for Joseph to come all the way back from that and just, again, similar to Hardware and Monkey, just wait, and then find a beautiful moment to grab that P2 late in that race as well. It was another great P2, P3 fight. It was very impressive. But now my bigger point from this race is Top Racing back-to-back weeks struggle to find pace. And if week 6 never happened, I would have Top Racing out of my predictions in general for this race. But Japan did deliver a great thriller.
Yeah, Suzuka was a thriller for sure. One of the most technical tracks in F1, if not the most, as we saw the drivers actually handle it very well, including Top Racing. It seems like when things get most difficult, Lane, that's when he tends to show up in these circumstances. So any concerns might have gone right out the window there. Plus, you got to talk about Mild Proto being able to utilize some of the safety car aspects of it, right? When that came out, was sticking out and was able to get that second spot as well.
Yeah, I mean, the safety car was a topic that was present in Suzuka GP because we had a situation related to Illegal Monkey, but also, okay, not only, but also a very, very good attacking work by Mild Proto, a defending work by James, who definitely took the torch, from Joseph last week ahead. So these guys began stepping up, like TJ said, beautifully, and definitely locked themselves up into the sequence of the championship. So it was beautiful to see Suzuka, very challenging, but some new names looking very mature already.
Yeah, Noni Dude actually out of this one, by the way. So, TJ, we saw that. Is that a big red flag? What else did you see during Suzuka?
I mean, comparing all the drivers together, Noni Dude has had one bad race. I don't think that it's going to matter. I mean, he seems like a dude who's got plenty of great mental and backing in his own head. Not even to mention, I'm sure that his family's been supporting him along the way as well. So I'm not too concerned about No Need Dude. Was it concerning? In the moment, slightly, but no, not outside of that. Not concerned at all. But I will say this was the biggest shocker race of the season, in my opinion, simply because Mile sits in the top 12 towards the bottom half, and then out of nowhere drove incredibly well and beat James at the very end. Also, there was a slew of DNFs that race, a lot of drama as well. It was a very fitting conclusion of the regular season. I was very happy to see Mile and James be the benefactors of it, and again, Mile showed that on the right day, on the right track, is a championship contender, but we'll see if Vegas maybe is on the better side of his odds.
Well, after all is said and done, we have determined who has made it through into the championship here tonight. Let's check out their final regular season standings, starting with the top 10. And Lane, No Need Dude, Top Racing, and Squeaky Hardware secure the top 3 in that order. No surprise in the finish of the top 2, and all 3 qualifying by podium finish as well. But how about Squeaky Hardware earning 191 points, just 8 points behind Top Racing?
Well, Squeaky Hardware, he did an amazing season, never left the top 5, as we said before, except at the Monza GP, where he was the P10. So, to me, it's not entirely a surprise to see him amongst the best drivers. He has been such a different driver from the beginning of the season, and it is a guy that we have to keep our eyes on.
All right, well, TJ, does anybody else stand out here in the top 5 or the top 10 as a whole here?
Well, I will say this, 24K King may have had a colder back half of the season, but still is very deserving of that P4 spot, and it is his birthday today. So big happy birthday to 24K King. We did not mention that in the interview. I wish we would have, but we got it now. So happy birthday, 24K King. I don't know if there's going to be some sort of maybe Formula 1 birthday gods. We'll have to see how the race progresses, but very intrigued to see how 24K King, and I throw Joseph in that same conversation. Drivers who are more talented than I would say 80% of the grid, but have to show it depending on the day, depending on qualification. There's so much that matters. I think them two specifically have been hurt by one-shot qualifying, I would say the most out of anybody in the top 5. And then also going down the top 10, Mao, a big shocker recently, has been on a tear through the rest of the grid. Siegel and Ian Hawk have had a lot of question marks, a lot of struggle. Siegel went from going P7 3 races in a row to finishing below P7 for 3 races in a row. And for Ian, it's been as high as top 3, it's been as low as top 15. So that entire side of the grid, a little more inconsistent, but I really feel confident about that top 3, especially that top 5.
Well, I'm keeping eyes on 24K King, see if he gets the birthday buff. Also, seeing if Ian Hawk from Speedway High School can get a little buff from where he's grown up and where he lives at Speedway High School. I actually have a relationship with them, by the way. Very awesome esports program up there in Indiana. Let's check out 11 through 20, by the way, guys, and see the rest of the standings here as well. And as you take a look through here, Mile Proto secured quite the bump in points lane after his exciting P2 finish just last week.
Yeah, Mile Proto, found his momentum at the Suzuka GP. So such a talented kid, moving along and showing good quality in the last GP, as we know. Now, when it comes to looking at the rest of the drivers there, I would say that Nico DeBico made an amazing, of course, debut, but he lacked the consistency. So I don't know if he's gonna be at the most expected contenders, but I would see him definitely at the same level, technically speaking, today as Saturn and Yukai, for example.
Awesome. So as we look through this list, there could be a couple sleepers. TJ, who are you looking at as far as potential sleepers outside of Mile Proto, like you mentioned earlier?
I mean, Mile is probably the most obvious pick, but I'll throw a counterpoint in. I don't think Nico gets it done today. I think Nico has had a rough time on very wide open speed, multiplying tracks where you have to try and make sure you can keep your speed throughout multiple turns in a row. So I actually, out of this entire 11 to 20 list, I got one driver on the top of mine who I think can extend their luck, extend their skill into the top 10. It is Jakai. Jakai has had many high-level moments, not only with their strategy and their decision-making, but with their actual racecraft as well. Now, yes, Jakai has had their fair share of inconsistencies, but out of everybody on this list other than Mile, that's who I'm going with.
Nice. AN80 Racing also had some moments there at Suzuka, so got to give them a shout. At number 18 doesn't feel good coming in, but certainly showed some promise, at least pushing for that top 10 at the when all is said and done. Well, we've reflected on the regular season, highlighted our top drivers, our future faces of the race and beyond. Now it's time to discuss the stakes of tonight's event. The Formula Sim Esports Cup presented by Brightspeed Fiber Internet is just a few minutes away from its prelim qualifiers, but as the drivers take their spot behind the wheel, let's go ahead and see what's in store for the highly anticipated championship event here tonight, starting with the format. TJ, break it down for us.
Well, I will do my absolute best because things seem to change on the fly, and tonight is no exception, but it's made things, in my opinion, just that more interesting. In order to crown our Formula STEM Esports Cup champion, we only have one final race left. Now, normally we would do a 15-minute only singular qualifying session to find our entire racing grid, but today we are blessed with a full Formula 45-minute qualifying session. We will go through Session 1, that's Q1, where the first 5 drivers will be eliminated. We will then go through Q2, where the next 5 drivers will be eliminated. And then in Q3, it will only be the top 10 drivers on the grid, where they will not only compete for pole position, as it mentions on this graphic, they will be competing for their direct placement on the grid 1 through 10. Not to mention all the other drivers will be locked into their positions from 11 to 20 as well. Also today, we are blessed with more racing action. You don't get a 3-lap race, a 5-lap race, a 25% race. You get a 50% Las Vegas GP championship. It is a beautiful scene, and it's simple. Place top 3, and you get those nice rewards, which, Bear, we still got to talk about the prize pool as well.
Yeah, it's the longest night of the season for good reason. There's a lot on the line here tonight. Let's talk about the prize pool now. $5,000 between the weekly prizes giving out pole position, racer of the day that we give on a weekly basis, but $4,000 up for grabs in today's championship event. Of the $4,000 we're awarding today, first place will take home $2,000. P2 will earn $1,250, and P3 will walk away with $750 as well. Lane, this money can be quite impactful for these drivers.
Absolutely can, and you can either help your family, for example, as Illegal Monkey wants to do, or you can be investing on your own gear if you have the capacities for that. You could be doing whatever you want. It's very, very much interesting to see that prize pool. It's not every day we have well-structured championships such as Formula STEM Esports Cup offering that much of when it comes to a prize pool.
Hey, new equipment, new copy of F125, it can pay for a lot, TJ.
At $2,000, you could actually reform your entire racing setup from the monitor down to the wheel, down to the pedals, down to maybe you get yourself a nice jacket like we saw earlier in our interviews. There's a lot that $2,000 can buy, not to mention $1,250 as well. But even for P3, $750 is a lot. So even in some of these drivers' minds, if you think that, oh, P1 must be going to top racing, oh, it must be going to no need dude, there's a lot of money to fight for. And also, if you've been following the season at all, a lot that can happen. I only imagine it to be just that more stressful and just that more chaotic now that there's real stakes on top of points, on top of bragging rights, all on the line.
With the stakes so clear, all that's left is the battleground itself. Let's break down what makes Las Vegas the ultimate test of talent. The newly transformed into the Las Vegas Strip circuit every year since 2023. The track, as the name implies, races directly through the City of Lights' biggest boulevard in 6.2 kilometers of exhilaration. Typically, Formula Racing features 50 laps past Caesar's Palace, the Bellagio, and the Venetian. Tonight, our playoff drivers will take on 25 laps, the longest race of the season, to determine our champion. TJ, Sector 1, let's break it down. The start-finish line just after the final bend coming off of East Harmon Avenue in Las Vegas, where there's a quick left-hander to start off our hot lap. Would love to hear you break down Sector 1 here.
I'm muted. I apologize. My mic was muted for some weird, awful reason, so I'm back. Anyways, like I was talking about, to absolutely nobody, this track, like I mentioned earlier, it is that much more important that you have to keep your speed at all times. There is only one major hard braking zone, and that's turns 14, but in Sector 1 specifically, it's a nice, slow, rounding corner into a much nicer, wider rounding corner, and then to our first 90-degree angle of the entire track over in turn 4. 5. So it's nothing too crazy, but of course it is our first DRS detection zone of the entire track. And so it's important to position yourself well as you're coming across the start-finish line.
Yeah, I thought you were silent because you're focused in, because you have to be off around turn 3 to get that jump on the straightaway there, because then very important that you get that good run off of those turns into the back straightaways. Well, lane sector 2 is certainly the most technical portion of the track. A heavy focus going to be the key to success in setting up the final stretch.
Yeah, I love how it is a transitional, decisive portion of the racetrack between sectors 1 and 3, obviously. But not only, it's going to make you and it's going to force you as a driver to be very, very attentive on the turns exit, especially on the chicane between turns 7 and 9, but it's going to be about recovering time, right? If you didn't do well in the first sector, you're gonna have to make it happen on the most challenging and technical portion of the track. And after that, you know, make sure you got yourself you got yourself, in this case, a nice exit on the turn number 12. It's gonna be very cool to see that happening.
Yeah, Dawson Cram also pointed out, you know, Lane, because that's a good point. But in addition to those technical turns, you've also got a track that's less, you know, smooth than most, I guess. You're literally racing on the streets of Las Vegas, which is pretty crazy, too. But TJ, you know, once you get to Sector 3, it's all about this strip here. Break down the sector for us, because it's pretty easy to get distracted under all those lights.
I mean, it doesn't get much more cinematic than Sector 3. It is the longest straight in all of Formula 1 on the entire calendar. Every car on the entire track hits its top speed right here in Las Vegas. And of course, it's down the Las Vegas Strip. But you have to keep in mind that you're going to be driving at a speed that your car has not hit all season. So if you're not too careful or you're not too used to it, that turn 14, 15 can be diabolical. It can be season-ending for your race. You can slam into that wall quicker than you can even comprehend what happened. Not to mention that DRS detection zone and DRS zone as well. You're going to be going ultra fast, and you have to be careful not to go for anything too crazy into the very last few turns. And then, of course, going through 15 and 16, it's simple. Make it to 17, keep your speed, and then once again, you go right back through it all, right where we start, over at turn 1.
14, 15, 16, I feel like it's diabolical. Not only, you know, you have to, like, literally a sharp left-hander after looking at the Las Vegas lights. It's pretty brutal. But, yeah, you eventually get to that starting point, and there you have it. That is the Las Vegas Strip Circuit, which is one of the most cinematic places. You put it best there, TJ. Certainly has a lot of speed, like we've seen from Monza, for example. It carries that weight, so, you know, you always have to keep that in mind, Lane, as you're circling around the 2 DRS zones, plus the ability to hit those straights pretty early. What's your keys to success here, Lane?
Well, it's going to be having to manage those exits, especially, like I said, managing your speed, but also taking care about getting into the turns, because you're going to have almost no runoff area. You're going to have a very punishing racetrack here. Obviously, it looks easy, right? On the layout, you look at that, you think, okay, I'm going to be able to speed a lot, but it's not actually what's going to be happening. You're going to have to be smart enough to obviously manage your car, and it is a low traction racetrack as well, Bear. So it is all about keeping the tires warm. We're going to be obviously delving into that pretty much ahead.
I mean, Dawson Cram even had a little bit of trouble here as he was trying to learn the track with us. So even the pro drivers will struggle here sometimes. So certainly got to be mindful there, TJ. Your keys to success.
Well, I'm glad that Lane brought up traction, because fortunately for these drivers, the race will be taking place at midnight. Yes, midnight specifically. So that actually means that for the first time all season, we will have our coldest track, most likely. So traction will start to get better throughout the race, but that means you have to be careful in what tires you decide to come out with on the very first lap. If you want to go softs, it's not a bad move, but you have to keep in mind that's going to be even harder to actually warm them up, because the track will not be helping you by any means. But outside of temperature and all the boring stuff, in terms of pure racecraft, Sector 2 is one of the hardest sections in our entire calendar here through all 8 weeks to grab more time on other racers. We talk about our easier layouts like Austria, like Monza, and yeah, those look easy, but there's still moments on the track where you can make time in almost every turn. But here in Las Vegas, it's a whole lot of just holding your 2 hands on the wheel and just driving straight. And that's what most of Sector 1 and Sector 2 is. So Sector 2 is a key point, not only for qualifying, but for taking your time and grabbing a 10th here, grabbing 2 tenths here, grabbing a second here. You're going to be paying attention to Sector 2 all night.
Good breakdown as always, guys. I appreciate you in here. So there's one last thing to do here, of course. So let's go ahead and get into predictions. Who we think is going to take it all here tonight. Let's start on the far end with Lane X. Who do you have winning and why?
Well, I think it's going to be No Need Dude. You know, well, no mystery here. I mean, the best driver when it comes to being consistent all over the way, very steady, very serene, as we could see by the video. So it is a matter of getting in there and making sure he already reaches the leading pack.
All right, TJ, you're up. Do you agree with Lane? Where's your head at?
Well, you see, I got a real shocker here. Only one driver has been as consistent the entire season, enough to, and all jokes aside, since we're in Las Vegas, gamble all your money on. It's No Need Dude. Without a single doubt in my mind, I think No Need Dude will be in contention in the top 5, top 3, but it's a matter of how well will qualifying go now that it's an extended session. I think in terms of room for error, it is the highest it's ever been all season, which just makes No Need Dude that much better, that much quicker, that much more confident, but still a lot of time between now and the actual GP.
Well, guys, those are definitely great predictions, and, you know, I hate to clash with you too much, but I'm also going to select a driver that has 3 wins on the season. But it's not No Need Dude. It is Top Racing. I got him. Listen, he had a couple of bad weeks, but boys, at the end of the day, you turn it all around, you get things going, and you hit the championship in the biggest moments. He's always showing up. Give me Top Racing and get me going here into the qualifying session. Let's go ahead and start up Q1 now. I'm on the track side. TJ, I'll let you take it away then.
Oh, man, just one more week. One more race, and we will have our Formula STEM Esports Cup in less than about 2 hours' time. It should be an absolute blast, and we've mentioned it too many times already. It is a beautiful bow on top of the present that is our regular season with Las Vegas, with the Sphere, with the Las Vegas Strip, and it's going to be myself and Lane who will carry you into all of the action, and you'll notice that, yes, we don't have any action on the screen just yet. That's because we're trying to get the gameplay up on the screen, but we do still have Bear. But Lane, I'll throw it over to you. Major predictions for qualifying. I talked a lot about Sector 2. Do you have anything that you were looking out for in terms of where will drivers have to find the most success in order to find the most success overall today?
Well, first off, I have to mention that maybe, you know, Bear decided to vote for Top Racing because they met in Wisconsin. Maybe Top Racing paid his snacks. We never know. But it's a very nice guy, a gentle driver. But talking about the actual race, man, I think it's going to be amazing to see the qualifying session. Like you said, it's a long GP. So the drivers need to get conscious about how they're going to be starting their work today. As we know, there's a low chance of seeing the hard tires, for example, in the beginning, because they're going to require more time to get warmed up. Maybe if you feel you are an early contender, an early stronger driver, you're going to go for the softs and potentially going for the mediums after that. And yes, I'm already hopping into the tire strategies because they're going to have a key role over here tonight, TJ. Wouldn't you agree? And also, we could talk about the reverse strategy as well, mediums and then softs, but that's going to be maybe for after.
Well, I'm actually glad you brought up the hard tires, because normally I always go against you, and I say that hard tires are bad. Hard tires are not good. This is actually the first week I am going to suggest you should start on hard tires. We have yet to do a 50% race this season. It is 25 laps, and with how much speed and how much wear you're going to put on your brakes and your tires, there's a lot that could go wrong. Not to mention that the collisions are turned on, that the safety car is turned on. So there's a lot that could happen, a lot that could change as we go throughout this race. And Bear, since we still have you and we're talking about pit strategies, I might as well throw it to you. Lane is predicting potentially softs, mediums. I'm easily going to go hards. I'm intrigued to see where your head's at if you're a driver here.
Man, oh man, I'm kind of leaning on the hard side, I'll be honest. I really do think that you can get some value out of running it. It's going to be the longest race of the season. Why not find some value on it? As long as you're confident being able to roll with those and have that traction, then you're good to go. So I'm leaning that way, but that's why I leave it for the experts, you guys, to see if they can follow through with that to the qualifying session. So that being said, let's put time on the clock. Every second matters. These drivers have one shot to lay down a lap in times that set the tone. They'll have plenty of laps, yes, but they want to secure that top spot in tonight's playoff grids. Guys, take it away.
Well, I believe now we have gameplay coming to your screens, and that's exactly what we have for you. Once again, my name is DJ TJ. Next to me in the studio is Mr. Lane, and of course, that very handsome bearded man that just threw it our way is Bearlight. We are very, very blessed and very excited to be bringing you the conclusion of the Formula STEM Esports Cup. So without further ado, Lane, it is Top Racing as our first spectator driver here in Q1.
Yes, it is Top Racing. Let's see how this talented driver is going to be performing today. Again, an oscillating season, which doesn't mean that he's not going to be confident in looking for the result. Tonight, I'm sure he's going to be trying to carry the momentum from Suzuka GP into Las Vegas racetrack as well. DJ, as we see him warming up and obviously making the first movements, we change the vision, the onboard camera into Squeaky Hardware. Another talented buddy that has stepped up over the season. Let's see what he's going to be able to do.
I mean, there's almost every living driver on the track is out right now, including two drivers who have made maybe a slight miscue. Dylan has accidentally came out on intermediates, and Nico has accidentally came out on medium. So unfortunately, they're going to have to waste a few laps trying to get back out of the track and then back into the pits, but we can focus on all the drivers at hand. Again, every driver who does not have a white line next to their names, which is, again, more than half the grid, are on their hot laps right now. And you can see all of the action looking at the bottom right side of your screen. That's the entire track map, and you can see who we're following, which is Squeaky Hardware right now. And so far, setting a decent time. The actual lap record here in Vegas is a minute 34. I would expect these drivers to be aiming anywhere from a minute 34, maybe in our higher section, as high as maybe a minute 30, maybe a minute 25, because the game obviously is very different, but we will have to see. Squeaky Hardware is currently making their way down the longest straight of the entire track, and obviously our drivers have learned how to be nice. They're letting each other pass when they're not on their hot lap, so at least there's that lane. The drivers are going to get, hopefully, their absolute best in, but it's still a 15-minute section only here in Q1. There is still 2 other sessions to run through, and as we come across the line with Squeaky Hardware, they will jump up at a minute 36.2, and James has a 3-second gap for now.
Oh yeah, that's a very nice mark to begin with. James already putting his name up in the leadership here in the pack, and yes, with Squeaky Hardware doing very good as well. All the drivers obviously trying, going for those softs, and it is our chance to be seeing how these guys are gonna be rolling this session over here, TJ, because I want to see a lot happening. I think we're gonna be very, very attentive to how, for example, Dylan is going to be making things happen today. He's going to be able to reach the GP, obviously, and how the other drivers are going to be living to their expectations that they have built themselves over this season. We already see, again, Top Racing as the second best driver at this point, and Eagle Monkey leading so far.
But we're finally starting to get to those key points that I was saying earlier. Yes, we do already beat the in real life lap record, and yes, that's no surprise because here in the game you can abuse certain things, and Illegal Monkey and Top Racing are currently leading the way in that. Illegal Monkey had a very confident 131.3. Top Racing did set the fastest Sector 2, but lost a lot of time in Sector 3. But we get to follow Jakai. This was my sleeper pick out of the bottom half of the driver standings. We'll see how far they get to come around the grid, and as they do make that very hard braking point, they'll try to keep this car on the pavement, but as you can tell, it's very easy to go wide and hit a tire on the corner there. These barriers, Lane, they are no joke, and now we get to see what is Jakai's final time.
They're no joke indeed, no runoff almost, but also no gravels, no grass to roll with if you need. But Jukai so far so good, showing his qualities. Again, it's a driver that can definitely do a fantastic job today. His best position over the season was AP4 during the Spa GP. He had a lot of trouble in the beginning of the season with pit stops, and in Silverstone, for example, he went too late to the pit stops, costing positions. So it is a driver that surely learned a lot. Looking forward today, TJ.
Well, we did see a Squeaky Hardware find their way into the top. Not just the top 3, and is only 0.058 behind Illegal Monkey. But there is still one driver who has not came out the pits just yet. It is myself and your championship favorite. It is No Knee Dude. So similar to all of the past races, No Knee Dude is not a fan of getting out and getting active early. They let the track get warm. They let the drivers kind of do all the softening of the pavement, and then then No Need Dude tends to come out and set a banger of a lap time. But there's different points lane to bring up for this qualifying session than most others. We actually get 3 qualifying sessions for those of you here joining us late in the Formula 7 Esports Cup. This session will have 5 drivers eliminated, and then the next qualifying session will eliminate another 5, and we will have 10 left in Q3, which will then set our final top 10 for the rest of the grid. But in the meantime, lane, we're following Squeaky Hardware, who's on a pretty decent lap, did lose a decent amount of time, won't find any major improvement, almost 4 seconds behind. I wonder where they lost time.
Yeah, maybe one of those turns after, exiting those tight spots of the racetrack itself. So it is very, very challenging. It's going to be very punishing for all the drivers. And after all, I would say, TJ, on the case of Las Vegas GP and racetrack, of course, here, we have to think that, and we have to emphasize that the guys need to survive. It's all about making sure that you can finish the qualifying sessions and staying alive session after session. It's not only about the points and obviously the positions on the grid itself, but again, making sure that you can sustain and you can survive lap after lap.
Well, we're currently following Squeaky Hardware, who, based off what I'm seeing on my screen, actually just set the fastest Sector 1 time of the entire grid. So we'll have to see how that lap time turns out. Also, No Need Dude is on their out lap. So we will finally get to see how the king of racing, no pun intended, a 24K king, will get to come out. Also, again, for those of you joining us late, it is 24K King's birthday. So a big happy birthday to 24K King. Believe it or not, it's not the first time that a driver this season has had a birthday on the same week as a race. So a little fun fact for you there. But once again, we come down the Vegas Strip. You can see the game makes the strip look beautiful. I have never been to Vegas in person, but I can only hope and dream that it looks half as good as the game does make it. As apologies, trying to follow the action at once has me losing my words. 24K King rounding the last few turns here, Lane.
Yeah, he's just a good driver, isn't he? Like, I was gonna just mention that he is a very good driver, especially sprinting in long straights, and maybe that could be a key point for his performance today, since we know that today's GP, Las Vegas racetrack, has a lot of those long straights, so maybe he could use that those portions actually as overtake spots. And not only that, but he's a very good driver when it comes to using a lot of different tires, especially the mediums and the hards. If he ever goes for those choices on the actual GP, we can see him really, really shining today. I wouldn't expect from him using the softs, to be honest, TJ, anticipating my comments here, because it has not brought good results for him specifically.
Well, aside of current driver stories, again, there is one that you have no choice but to focus on. It is this man right here. You saw his interview, and now you see a midnight black car here in midnight at the Las Vegas GP. No Need Dude currently on their very first lap attempt and decided to wait about 4 or 5 minutes before actually coming out of the pits. So there is already only 8 minutes left. You waste about 3 minutes in total before you can actually get a lap down. So No Need Dude needs to make sure this lap is good enough to actually propel them into the top 15, because you don't want to get eliminated here in Q1. Also, a few drivers having their fair share of connection issues. Nico has not reconnected yet, so for their sake, I hope they're able to come back. But we are following No Need Dude into Sector 2 on their very first hot lap lane.
It is a lot of pressure, right, that he's putting on his own shoulders. Let's see how he's going to be dealing with that in this later late portion of the session itself, as we keep seeing his movements over here. And No Need Dude absolutely focused for today, ready to go. Again, one of the most steady drivers we had all over the season. I'm expecting a lot from him. Such a good person, as well, as we could see by the video. So yeah, a lot to be bringing into the racetrack, as he seems to be having a lot of those mechanical knowledges that could be key, could be game changing for you.
Oh, this looks like a flyer right here, and that it is! But so does Joseph! Goes sub 131! I thought for certain that No Need Dude was going to jump up on Illegal Monkey, but I should have paid attention to the car that was right next to No Need Dude. It was Joseph, a 130.9, blazing fast here in Q1.
It was very close, right? So Joseph definitely making it happen. And No Need Dude, at this point, third position. Let's see how he's going to be evolving from this point on. I like to see Joseph always going so well in the beginning of the sessions, as we're going to be taking a look at Squeaky Hardware now to see what he's going to be able to do. It is all in for him, TJ.
I mean, does still have at least a little bit of time to potentially pit and come back out. There's almost 6 minutes left in the session. So as we are watching this, hopefully beautiful lap of Squeaky Hardware, I want to bring in Bear for a slight conversation about when you're looking at the driver perspectives, Bear. This track is tight, it's pretty dangerous, and there's not a lot of room for error. Where are you looking for these drivers to gain the most amount of time?
I mean, you got to look towards Sector 1 first and foremost because you got to start off the lap strong, but you also have your first zone where you can just book it down, DRS zone on that first straight, and it really sets the tone for the rest of the race. Yes, Sector 2 is where it gets a little bit more technical, and that's where it gets extremely tight, but you have to keep your focus, and it all starts with setting the tone early in the lap. I look for Sector 1 as being successful and one of the places where drivers will focus the most to make sure their lap gets off on the right foot.
Thank you, Bear, for the analysis. You'll be able to catch all of the beautiful factoids from Bear Light throughout the entire broadcast. This is a 45-minute in total qualifying session. You're with DJ TJ and Lane, and we are now following Squeaky Hardware into their second full hot lap on a brand new set of tires. Is currently sitting at 1:22. Lane, this lap looks like it's got some pretty good potential here, and he's got a little bit of clean air off of a car in front, and it will be a pretty fast lap, but it won't be P1, and it will be an improvement, though. Cuts off an entire 10 and almost rams the back of another driver, but a great lap regardless.
Yeah, overall he was using beautifully especially the out portions of the racetrack and asphalt. After all, you know, after turns, after beginning turn, the initial turns, excuse me, and then after that as well. So beautiful job by Squeaky. A little bit of a spin there, but not, you know, not something major to be fair. So yeah, using the slipstream, excuse me, from the driver ahead of him. So good job by Squeaky as we take a look at James, another potential title contender here. TJ, let's see what he's gonna be up to do today.
Well, James, I actually believe, is on their hot lap, so it would have been very unfortunate if Squeaky Hardware did ram the back of James, but James will be fine for the time being. We're making their way all the way through Sector 2. In the top right, we will see a plus 1.5 seconds on their last time, so there's going to have to be a pretty generational cut here in Sector 3 for there to be something major to happen in front of our eyes here. But again, we mentioned it earlier, in Sector 3, there's only so much time to gain because all you do is sit on that gas pedal. So for James, I'm not sure if we're going to see an improvement just yet, but Lane, the time is getting a little dire here. We're currently sitting at, I believe, just about 4 to 3 minutes left in the session. I'm waiting on that caution flag to disappear. 4 minutes exactly left in the session. So now we should see almost all of the drivers make their last attempts here soon, and James has decided to go ahead, cut that lap off, and now we get to see Top Racing start their next hot lap.
Yeah, always fast, always trying his best. Top Racing is. And before, about James, he's gonna have to escape, obviously, those last positions to, you know, make sure he advances into the following session. As we see now, Top Racing again versus Tony Dude. I mean, that's the encounter we've been expecting to see the entire season here, TJ, as he goes after and overtakes versus an Oni Dude in this occasion. Good job so far. The two drivers obviously in different paces at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Monkey and No Need Dude are currently sitting inside of the pits. No Need Dude did just come out, so we won't get to see these drivers have to deal with each other just yet. But when their lap times start to fall in, things should get pretty dicey. Also, we have yet to have a moment this entire season where we actually have drivers who are on the cut. So you have to be top 15 to survive Q1, and so actually, as of right now, unless Nico comes back and reconnects, all of these drivers will get to drive once again in Q2. So you're just kind of going to flex at this point. And so for Top Racing, Bear did choose Top Racing, and so for his sake, for his predictions, this is a pretty big lap. This is going to be Top Racing's last major attempt. It will be almost every driver's last major attempt, and as we get the DRS, Top Racing has clean air, nobody around him, just has to really pin this car through the last few turns. Takes a little too much curb, but is able to get right back on the gas for the last few. So as we come across the line, sitting at 1:25, this is looking good. It's going to be close, though, rounding the final corner, crossing 1:30. It will not be a major improvement. It will be only a 1/10 of an extra second. So it's still going to be P5 for Top Racing.
Yeah, you can tell he went kind of safe or kind of slower, if you want, in the last few seconds. But overall, a very good job by Top Racing, just not reaching the top guys at this point yet. But, you know, overall, trying to use the wide turns, trying to max that speed, especially out of the turn. So, fantastic job by Top Racing as we take a look on No Need Dude at this point, also trying to make his name up into the top. For the following sessions, all the drivers focus on getting better and getting warmed up.
Well, this is the first time all season that we may actually see a qualifying session where No Need Dude and Top Racing will not be in the top 3. Now, granted, we do still have 2 more qualifying sessions. This is not for final grid placement for the GP, so it's not a big deal for members like Top Racing, who unfortunately didn't get their absolute best lap. But again, you have to go and try and put a little bit of fright in the other drivers' wheels. You don't want them to feel too confident going into the GP, and now you can see that No Need Dude is currently on a vengeance, trying to do just that. As they cross into Sector 2, No Need Dude is currently looking in the top right of your screens at a... Well, I didn't get to see the exact time, but I would imagine Top Racing is doing a lot better. As I also am looking at the wrong black car driver. Now Top Racing is about to enter Sector 2, and as they come across the line, No Need Dude is currently 0.5 tenths of a second ahead of his previous time, which means that if No Need Dude is able to actually parlay this lap into a complete drive, they will take P1 as the clock expires.
Oh, yeah, No Need Dude so strong at this very end. We see less than a minute, obviously, 30 seconds, and he's trying to repeat what he did at the Suzuka GP when he finished at the 3rd spot, and then after, obviously, he didn't have a great GP, but he doesn't want to think about the regular season, right, DJ? Obviously, No Need Dude and these guys are focused on today, and that is going to be actually the talk of the town here as he moves into the P2. Less than 10 tenths versus Joseph, man.
7 thousandths of a second is all that stands between a career-defining lap for Joseph and our current points leader. What in the world was that lap? I thought for sure No Need Dude had that in the bag, but lost just a little bit of time coming around the last few turns in Sector 3, and now we will get to see all of the drivers wrap up their sessions. Illegal Monkey, I did not see if they crossed the line. I don't believe there's a major improvement coming there, but again, it is only Q1. 5 drivers get eliminated, so that means that Nico and Evan will be eliminated. It's supposed to be 16 all the way through 20, but for their sake, we will not get to see them in the next session. And I'm not sure if A and 80 will be able to survive this session as well. We'll have to see what the game decides to do, since we actually had a few drivers disconnect. But in just about a minute's time here, we should be able to see. Doe is trying to get this last lap in here, Lane, but hitting the wall a little too much. It will not be a major improvement, and so Doe will most likely stay in the top 10 as well.
Yeah, it's not only him, but Mao. I don't see Mao moving as much. Of course, we didn't have a chance of taking a pick on him as long as in the other drivers, but there we see Doug Jr. trying to at least complete the lap over here, and I'm very, very curious to see about Mao as we have Mario Proto and Sojourn along with N80 Racing, finishing their effort. Actually, N80 Racing not yet, but very close to that. There it is. As I say, Mao is going to be the last man to be observed along with Illegal Monkey and Onijit.
Yeah, the biggest shocker here is, I think, Mile Proto. That was somebody that both of us had as a sleeper and currently sits at P13. Again, will survive and make it through Q1 onto Q2, but it is just ever so slightly concerning as all of the drivers will make their way into the pits, as we should be getting to go to that cutscene very shortly. We're just waiting on the game to obviously do its thing. But Lane, any other shocking drivers here at the end of Q1?
Well, I would say that I was expecting a little more from, obviously, James and Yukai. We have talked a lot about them, but especially Mao and Mild Proto as well. But again, it's just the first session. Maybe they're dealing with the racetrack itself, understanding how the car setups are going to be rolling. As we have the final screen here to show TJ, Joseph, No Need Dude, and Squeaky Hardware so far, obviously, along with Illegal Monkey, Top Racing, 24 King. A lot of these guys are going to be maybe changing their positions as we move on.
I mean, if there's anything to go off of in normal Formula 1 racing, the drivers will only get quicker as we go. Now, I will say, these drivers are pushing very hard. I would be shocked to see somebody go sub 130, but you get a lot of time to learn the track. I mean, Lane, adding up all the time from Q1, Q2, and Q3, as also my name is not Bear Light, and his name is not DJ TJ. I am DJ TJ, and that is actually Lane. But as I was saying, Lane, there's a lot of time, 45 minutes, where we are not doing GP racing. It is solely qualifying. So for drivers who can make it all the way to Q3, I would imagine they're going to be able to shave off a second.
Well, they should. You know, they're going to have to decide whether they're going to go strong in the beginning or more in the middle and in the late portion. As we can see, no need to wait for the final chances to finally grasp a spot onto the leadership and into the leading pack, to be honest. So it was a good job by many of these drivers, and all of them already showed us this kind of work, this style, this pattern here, TJ, if you will, along the season. Some of them take some time to warm up, others already lock themselves up at the top.
Well, I also want to throw it back to you for just a second because I also want to talk about specific moments on this track. And we can obviously continue to follow these drivers into Q2, but I want to lead this conversation about, in terms of specific times on the track that we're seeing. Lane, out of sectors 1, 2, and 3, is there a certain maybe bottlenecking point that you're seeing?
Well, I think that we're talking about the very, very last chicane or set of turns, if you will. You know, usually the drivers are having some tough time on that spot specifically. And also, I say that because when we compare to previous GPs, we know that some drivers got used to it over the course of the racetrack. But here, I can tell that they're kind of afraid, you know, to finish on the same level of speed as they carried from before. And I mentioned specifically Top Racing on that matter. I'm not saying here, obviously, that he went bad on the first session, no. But we could see that he tried to go safer. He was trying to deal with that spot or that portion of the racetrack itself.
Yeah, I'll throw my point in as well. Originally, I thought Sector 2 was going to be a high point of contention, but I'm with you. That last chicane, drivers are being very, very careful about how they push the car across the sausage curb that sits right there on turn 15. If you try to cut it a little too far in, your car can actually grab airtime, like we just saw in front of our screens. I believe that was James' car who just caught air right there. But I do want to bring Bear back into the conversation, our incredible analyst here, actually on the track there in Vegas, virtually, believe it or not. And so, Bear, what are you seeing down there?
Thank you, TJ. I'm actually down by turn 15, believe it or not. And what I've seen is the same thing. A lot of these drivers, you know, you see the lights, and when you're going down the Vegas Strip, it can be very easy to get distracted there. But you bring up a good point. When you do hit that curve, the sausage curve specifically, you can catch a bit of airtime. It's hard to recover from that. And even if you do, you're still talking about, you know, 1 or 2 tenths of a second that come off very easily. So as much as I preached the beginning of this track and how Sector 1 needs to be clean, you got to think about the Omega in addition to the Alpha and make sure that you complete your lap fine.
Very good point as well. I'm glad that we all have such differing opinions about the track and where you can gain time, because if you look at a map of the Las Vegas Street Circuit, it looks pretty simple, like one of the most simple tracks in the entire calendar. But as you can see here on Joseph's hot lap, it's hard to bring the front end of the car all the way around. You can see it stuttering just a little bit there, trying to find the right gear in order to then blaze around this side of the track right here. But Lane, this is now our current key player to really worry about. Joseph set a 130.9. That was the time to beat. Joseph, as of right now, we don't know if they're going to be on par or better than that time, but I'm seeing a lot of purple sectors down there at the bottom of our screens.
Yeah, let's see how he's going to be dealing with the last sector right now. And yeah, I mean, the main task is going to be, again, that final chicane. So I want to see Joseph dealing with those corners and you know, spots on those turns specifically, as we have him specifically moving and doing good. Look at that.
That's
1
beautiful.
minute and 25 at this point. TJ, he's gonna go to the top.
This is fast right here. It's not going to be a sub 130, but it is going to be actually not sub 131. He sits at a 131.2, and Squeaky Hardware has set the first sub 131 of the entire session. So a slight change in pace here. Also, Dylan Driver has reconnected just in time and set a decent lap for the time being. But here come the rest of the drivers. Top Racing cannot do much more than the competitors and will sit at P3. No need to Dude, 24K Kane, and Illegal Monkey have all not decided to leave the pit lane as well. So we are currently following Mile Proto, who I believe is on their cooldown lap, but we should see Seagull and Monkey. There's Seagull setting their time, but it's only P6, so drivers actually struggling pretty heavy here to start lane.
Yeah, Reinforced Seagull at this point, right? Obviously repeating the same performance he had before. He finished P7 on the previous session. We are just getting began over here, but some spots already different from before. Mao, for example, stepping up from previous P12, if you will, to a P5 at this point. Let's see how he's going to be behaving from now on. Mile Proto, again, a little better as well, but that doesn't still look like to what he wants to be providing us with today. And we take a look now at Illegal Monkey. Obviously, you know, having the chance to also prove his words from the video before that we saw, in trying to go up and trying to step up for the love, for the passion on racing and on going against his opponents.
Well, we are following both Illegal Monkey and No Need Dude currently, who are making their way together down the Las Vegas Strip. I believe they are actually back-to-back right now, and so for No Need Dude, I don't think they've decided to, actually no, sorry, other way around. Illegal Monkey has decided for No Need Dude to go ahead and pass, as I do believe that is the car in front, but there is a few drivers near as well. As we'll have to see Illegal Monkey, I believe, give this position up to a driver who's actually on a hot lap, and so it'll give Illegal Monkey at least a decent amount of clean air to actually go off of. And there is No Need Dude, who's actually nowhere near Illegal Monkey. They are all the way back, and there is plenty of room, as you can see in the top right side of your screen. I mean, lane, this is the most room any driver has had thus far, so for No Need Dude, this is just going to be another very important lap. This one needs to be a banger.
Yeah, he needs to seize it, as we know, and as we know also, he usually does that in the very end. It's going to be cool to see how he's going to be stepping up. And about Squeaky Hardware, we have to mention also, so far doing a good job. He also went well in the first session. As we see, finally, No Need to going all in, full speed from this point on. Beginning of the racetrack, obviously seizing those inside lines as well. He goes for the wide now and tries to catch the speed as we move into another very, very fast section over here, TJ, the first DRS.
Well, again, as we mentioned, this lap, very important, and so No Need Dude will be paying attention to the top right of their screen, where you'll get to see just how close they are to setting a wild lap. They are 26 seconds all the way through Sector 1, which, based off of my memory, is pretty fast. Keeps the car inside, does have a little bit of spin on those front tires, so we'll lose a little bit of time there, but again, as we know, No Need Dude tends to find time out of left field. And also worth noting is that Joseph is making another return outside of the pit lane and will try to also beat Squeaky Hardware and regain P1. But now we all have to watch Monkey and No Need Dude. Illegal Monkey should be setting their lap time within the next 5 seconds here if the bottom of the screen is doing me correctly. But down the Las Vegas Strip is No Need Dude. Again, plenty of clean air, no slipstream, but the DRS is absolutely slammed open. And No Need Dude will have to watch out because Illegal Monkey, the driver right ahead of him, has actually gone P2. So now for No Need Dude, this lap becomes immensely more important because Illegal Monkey has shown you can find time, and No Need Dude may be the master of the time stone keeper, if you may, and that's exactly what they're going to do. It's a magical 130.7.
What a banger. You can tell, right? At the end, he was so confident, no mistakes. No collision at all, or even minor contact with the walls, and he did such a fantastic job at the very last set of turns, going so fast. Again, No Need Dude making it happen from the middle portion of the session to the end. Fantastic job.
Again, it is a 50% race once we get to the actual GP. So to the drivers who can actually go to sub 131, potentially pushing sub 130 times, if they can drive consistently at that level, they will create gaps to the rest of the grid very, very easily. But in the meantime, I want to go check in on Joseph, who I believe is about to set their next lap time. They just started their hot lap here, Lane.
Wow, let's see if he's going to be able actually to, do better than before. Joseph doing a good job so far, beginning fast and no context. Let's see how far he's going to be able to make this one happen. Joseph to try to go for the P1 once more. and he touches the curbs. Let's see how his stability is gonna be, TJ, as well.
Oh!
Spinning. Oh no! Oh no, that was unfortunate. Joseph falling a lot in this case.
Tough moment for
Wow.
Joseph. Has to be careful as well not to get in the way of any other drivers, but we will shift our focus over to Squeaky Hardware, who is going to start their hot lap. So now we get a fresh restart lane. These soft tires look pretty warm. The wall did just get slightly love tapped by that right tire, but Squeaky Hardware now gets to try and gain P1 once again.
Yes, he's gonna try to do beautifully as he did before. Again, he was a P3 in the first section, and over here still holding a P2. Let's see, he's going to manage that turn beautifully. That was a very nice inside cut, and he's gonna try to carry that speed as much as he can. Squeaky Hardware, again, one of the strongest actually title contenders for the night as well.
Touches the wall again, though. You have to be careful here at the Las Vegas GP because these turns are not very forgiving. Another wall tap through Sector 1. You can tell in the top right, 0.179. That is an entire tenth, almost 2/10 that Hardware has lost based off of Sector 2. And I'm actually going to bring in Bear for another conversation here. Bear, we are almost down to the conclusion of Q2. We already talked about major contention, maybe bottleneck points of this track, and the drivers are struggling very heavily with the grip and the barriers.
And there's multiple spots too, TJ. You make a great point here. That Sector 1 has certainly been more recently noticed. But even in Sector 2, you think the most technical part is towards the top of the map, if you will. But really, as you get down to turn 14 and start to go down the backstretch, that quick left turn, sneaky tough. I think these drivers have been handling it really well until they're not, and then that really does throw them for loops because every single lap matters in this qualifying session, as you know, guys. And a lot of racers are handling it well, and there's some that still need to make improvements as well.
Well, I mean, it's hard for Bear to give us crazy analysis when these drivers are struggling to really analyze the track themselves. But we do greatly appreciate Bear's input because he did say something that maybe these drivers haven't figured out yet. Yes, this track is hard, and if you have not been practicing, this is a pretty rude awakening for the GP when it actually does come around. But we're here in Q2, and so now lane comes another key point of the broadcast. It is a normal Formula 1 qualifying session, which means that in the next 3 minutes, we will watch 5 drivers get eliminated. And as of right now, A&80, James, Mile Proto, Saturn, and 24K King, who has not set a lap yet, are all in very awkward spots.
They are in awkward spots. I don't know what is going to happen. It's so tough to predict as we take a look at Jukai in this occasion to see how he's going to be dealing with the final portion over here. He goes for the turn 12, which is also very challenging, and which allows me, TJ, to make a point here. We have long straights, we have sweepers, but then after that we got turns 5, 12, and 15, which are very tight, you know? So it's all about managing that braking work, the handling as well. That's why Las Vegas is so beautiful. And Jukai now heading into the last very challenging section. Let's see how he's going to be able to pass that chicane specifically.
Jakai, a driver who has not been able to set a lap time either, but is the first driver on the cusp of being eliminated. That looks good, though. Sector 3 has looked pretty fast, currently sitting at a 128 around the last few turns. It looks to be an improvement. It is by 7/10. So Jakai jumps into P7, is safe for the time being. But as of right now, with 2 minutes left, there is still a decent amount of drivers who still have to set their hot laps. We're looking at Mile Proto. We're looking at Saturn. Mile actually had to put on 6-lap-old softs, so it's going to be hard to find extra time here, and we are going to get to follow James, who will try to survive and make it out of the elimination zone.
Oh, yeah, James, he can make it happen. Let's see. He's got talent. He showed that to us during the entirety of the season as well. Of course, not so consistent, you know, when we look at the calendar, but here he's got his chance. James is gonna have to make it happen. Not only him, Mile Proto, Saturn. So these guys are still having to do a good job moving forward from now on. As we have James, so beginning his movements and try to make the most he can on the turns here. It's gonna be tough again, TJ. Let's see if he's gonna, you know, allow some seconds or milliseconds to escape.
Well, let's just talk about the track as we go around. Coming down into turn 5 here. It's the first major braking point. James is very aware of that after the last 2 sessions. Does traverse it well. Doesn't tap the wall either, like we saw Hardware and Joseph struggle with a little earlier in the session. Bending this car all the way around Sector 2, turns 6 through 9. Look very clean, very collected, but not the wall of turn 9. That right there could be a lap breaker, but as we'll have to see as James comes around the end of Sector 2, we'll see how much time they may have lost here. Last turn before the line across the top right of your screen, it will be 4/10 that they've gained the wrong way. So James has to have a immaculate Sector 3 or else they're going to be eliminated.
Well, not fantastic time already, we can tell, because usually, the top contenders were reaching close to 55 seconds before turn 15, and it's not going to be the case, definitely, for James. Very last portion, and here going slower than usual, but James still got a chance. He's got a spot, another touch, and that's going to definitely put him down.
Yeah, I think for sure James has unfortunately let this lap slip away. And so, Lane, I believe James is eliminated. And yes, that is the truth, Lane.
Yes, out of the competition. James fighting so hard over the last GPs, as we know, over the weeks, but now out of the possibilities when it comes to the title, as we have the chance to take a look at N80 Racing over here, TJ. Fresh compounds. Let's see how far he can get.
AN80 is currently 4/10 up on their lap time. In order to make it out of this, you have to beat not just Doe Jr., you have to jump Siegel as well. So in terms of a buzzer beater save your lap time, there needs to be something special here in this last chicane. Wide line coming in, does turn the wheels a little too much, but does clean it up on the back half. Now, a very crucial moment for AN80. Will we find them in Sector 3 as we come across the line? It's gonna be close, it's gonna be dire. AN80 has not made it, has lost time in Sector 3. That last chicane has pushed them into the elimination zone. And so our final 5 drivers being knocked out here in Q2. It is Doe Jr., AN80, James, Mile, Big Shocker, and Saturn.
Wow, Mile Proto. I mean, come on, I was expecting to see a little more. We all know Las Vegas is challenging, but Mile Proto a little far behind, dropped to the back, along with, as we know, Saturn, James, N80 Racing, and Doug Jr. What a complicated mission for them today to seize this spot here, because that goes to show how strong Reinforced Eagle times was. Not only him, but also Doug Jr.'s and his Mao especially. So it was a very, very much more complicated session, we can put it this way, right? It was fierce to find those spots and times, but yeah, we're going to have to talk about the final session up ahead.
I mean, we can take a look here at the qualifying 2 standings. You can see the grayed out names means that you are out. So, Lane, after Q1, we talked about our biggest shockers, our biggest maybe drivers to look out for in the next session. So here, what's our biggest shockers of Q2?
Well, I think the big shocker is gonna be, it's gonna be definitely Jukai trying to step up, trying to stay strong, and he could. I think we actually had, many of those drivers repeating their performance. So I don't want to actually look to the qualifying drivers as a potential topics of the conversation here, because the shocker was definitely the elimination of Mile Proto and other guys. I mean, we're talking about drivers that could be making it happen, TJ. I don't think anyone, who actually watched our season could be seeing that happening. Not only him, but James in this case. I think these 2 guys, they definitely made enough, over the racetracks and GPs to be at the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that Mile Proto not only didn't make it, but was P14. So really struggled to find pace compared to every other driver, which the entire top 11 sits at sub 133s. Mile was at a 133.3. So we're talking maybe 1 turn, maybe 1 sector. Who knows what happened on Mile's lap times, but you also have to wonder why they waited so long to use that fresher compound. It was an awkward move, but I also will say, in terms of surprising drivers, Dylan Dylan driver, somebody who's been very quiet all season, sits at P8 in the qualifying 2 section, and with a minute 32.5 as their best lap time, there is still a lot to learn and a lot of time to gain. But as we enter Q3, I want to also bring Bear back into the conversation. Bear, anybody standing out for you from Q2?
Well, you know, for me, I've liked what Illegal Monkey has been able to put together, has been consistently a little bit better than my pick, actually, in top racing. And one of the reasons why we've seen some of these drivers fall off, like you called out James, like you called out Mile Proto, you see a lot of nerves, a lot of the smooth driving that we've seen through corners or holding it still on the straightaway, making sure that you get a clean exit. It just hasn't been happening. Those nerves in the championship race are very real, and you're starting to see it manifest in a multitude of different ways. Those little shakeups, those little touches, those little inconsistencies can throw your lap time off by just a little bit, enough to really start to question yourself as a driver and up here in the booth as well.
Well, as we enter Q3, it is our shortest qualifying session. It is only 11 minutes, and these drivers, it'll take you about 3 minutes to not only get your warm-up lap done, but then your actual qualifying lap as well. Not to mention the next minute 30 that it takes for you to actually come back to the pit. So for these drivers, you're only realistically looking at maybe 2 laps where you're going to get a true attempt and a true time to do your best. And there's not a lot of clean air on the track as well. But without further ado, let's see what Q3 has in store, Lane.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be cool to see what else is going to get repeated from the previous sessions and what news we're going to be reporting to you today. Now, talking about Dylan, TJ, real quickly, it is crazy to say that this guy just joined 1GP, right? During the entirety of the season, he just actually was present at the Silverstone, right? When he finished as the P7. So, listen, this guy didn't really allow himself a lot of room for growth, but here he is, beating opponents and staying with the top 10 guys in the season.
Currently on board with Squeaky Hardware, who sat at P2 by almost 0.3 of a second and set a sub 131 to get there. So Squeaky Hardware has proven they are an incredibly fast driver. Absolutely. But now with Nonidu setting the bar at a 130.7, you really can't take a time, or really take a second, I mean, to reflect on your lap and say, you know, I did a good job, because Nonidu says, well, you tried. And we'll have to see, as almost the entire grid will be setting their hot laps very soon here. We're going to see 8 hot laps in a row, as I believe it was Top Racing who only just now started their hot lap. So as we see all the drivers come across the line, Squeaky Hardware will lead the way at a 130.9. That is as consistent as it gets. Back-to-back 130.9s.
Listen,
oh
TJ.
My God!
Wow, right, okay. I was gonna call her about Squeaky Hardware, just say that today's session, 3 sessions, are a reflection of his own season, right? This guy doesn't go much lower than he already did. Fantastic job, but Nonidu stealing the stage and the spotlights again.
Nonidu, a 130.5.
Wow.
That is disgusting from the current championship leader. And as you can tell, the rest of the grid is struggling to find that level of pace. As Top Racing comes around, it's a 131.4. It's only P4. It's almost an entire second behind Nonidu. So now here in our last qualifying session, all of these drivers have got to be getting a little bit nervous, because now you are really getting concerned about if you can even take and hold a candle to your championship leader.
Oh my God, this is so crazy. It's so interesting to see these surprises, right? These overcomes. And over here, we're gonna have a chance of checking on Jukai onboard camera for you to check on how he's gonna be performing from now on. Amazing, run so far in the season. Let's see how he's gonna be fighting these opponents. We have, we have Mao on the back position. I was gonna just mention that the pressure is gonna grow for those back drivers, TJ, especially Dylan reinforcing Mao, but amazing effort by Jukai. A little slower than he would expect, obviously, but there it is.
You're nicer than me. A little slower. I'd say a lot slower. A 135 is actually the slowest time we've seen in a little bit So
Correct.
unfortunately for Jakai, I would imagine there was potentially a moment on the track where maybe a wall was hit or maybe a spin happened. Who knows? But that's a pretty tough one there. But the last driver to set their actual hot lap will be Illegal Monkey, who currently is making their way around the track. And so I want to take a moment to throw it over to our analyst who's on the track. I'm not sure where you are now, Bear, but 9 laps have been set. Any surprises?
Well, I just left the Velocity. No, I'm just kidding. So we have seen No Need Dude set the fastest lap time out of any queue. So as things get heated up, he's performed time and time again. But Illegal Monkey has mentioned his closest to No Need Dude, has gotten a lot of tips, a lot of mentorship from this driver who just continues to show up on a regular basis. Illegal Monkey has been just taking the time to watch other drivers. We've seen it all season long, so no surprise. He goes right back to that same strategy, and now will look to set his time and his sights even higher to try to even overtake his buddy at No Need Dude at 130.5.
Illegal Monkey has been making a lot of content this year as well, which we talked about in our pre-show, and he talked about in his own interview that he submitted for us to go over. So for Illegal Monkey here, Lane, yes, this race, yes, the money, yes, the bragging rights are important, but Illegal Monkey's trying to get a movie out of this week.
Well, yeah, he's such an entrepreneur, isn't he? Like, such a talented, in many fronts kind of guy and lad here. Illegal Monkey, yeah, definitely to step up, he proved his points on, learning lessons and getting his own gameplay improved over the racetracks as well. So I trust him. I trust that he's gonna do fantastic over here as we see him moving on, into the core of the second sector. I want to see the major test happening actually today, TJ, at the turn 12. He's gonna be able to survive after that.
Tough, wide lines coming through the beginning of Sector 2, and you can see that Illegal Monkey is struggling to exactly find the moments there. You have to be careful about those curves. Almost goes flying into the wall. But also, as you can see on your screen, it looks like that Illegal Monkey, or one of the drivers behind them, is actually on the fastest Sector 2 time of the entire track. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to be Squeaky Hardware who just set that time, or if it's Illegal Monkey, or if it is surprisingly Jakai, but time will tell. Coming down the last few turns of Sector 2, have to be careful to keep that car straight and narrow like an arrow. And through turn 16, looking good. Only a 125 as we come across the last turn. This could actually be something beautiful. Across the line, it's going to be a sub 131.
Wow.
Does throw it a little bit by throwing the car into the wall prematurely. Lost about a 10th there probably in the dying moments, but currently sits in a podium spot.
Amazing job by Illegal Monkey, right? P4 in the first session, and then he went for a P3 in the second session, now repeating his last performance. Amazing job. Very consistent, very fast, and passing all the tests that we mentioned before, as we're gonna be taking a look into our final rookie of the season. Definitely the guy that upholds the most mystery over here, TJ, in the season.
I mean, it's a tough moment for Illegal Monkey because you were on a flyer of a lap and you do hit the wall a little early, but you are still in a podium spot, which again is really all that matters between getting some prize money, getting your name out there, and in the very first Formula Semi Sports Cup, putting your name in the metaphorical rafters, per se. But so far, the grid has not had a lot of movement. Seagull did make their way into P7, 24K King as well, but after P6, all of these drivers are awkwardly spread out. Joseph being a whole half a second behind No Need Dude is a little absurd. Top Racing was being a whole second behind is crazy. So with only about 3 minutes left to go here, these drivers are only going to get one more chance, Lane.
Yeah, they have to fight for it, as you said very well. The time is spreading, and these drivers, they have to do something, special. They have to step up. This is the moment, as we have again the vision on Dylan to try and upgrade his own time. This is looking beautiful, to be honest, TJ.
Well, I mean, so far, sitting at a 128, it could be something special. It is going to be an improvement, I believe, and it will be a 0.7 tenths improvement. So a big lap time improvement for Dylan Driver, but just to remind the entire viewership here for the Formula Semi Sports Cup Championship, we got some pretty talented racers sitting at the top of the standings. So yes, it was a great lap, but it's not even enough to break the top 5.
It is not. Definitely, these guys have been so hegemonic, right? On the last sessions, but also on the entire season as well. These names, we have been talking about them a lot. Definitely Joseph. Remember, one day, TJ, you called him the the best of the best. And here he is as one of the big boys, along with Top Racing, Legal Monkey, Squeaky Hardware, and Oni Dude. And I would dare to say that these 5 guys, the top 5 that we see now, TJ, could be, to me, the strongest pack of contenders for the title.
1:30.8 for Top Racing, their
Very good
fastest of the entire qualifying sessions combined, and it is still 3/10 behind Noni Dude. But just to sit in the top 2 is a must-have in a championship setting. Top Racing so far, so good. But as you can see on the top of your screen, Noni Dude and Squeaky Hardware are also on their outlaps, and they will make it around in time to get one more attempt here. So, Bear, I want to give you a moment because that's your championship favorite sitting in P2.
Yeah, it's showing up. You love to see it. It's a little bit later in the qualifying session, but exactly when you want to strike, right? It's better late than never, so love to see his bump up there as well. Squeaky Hardware has been as consistent as can be, and how great has he been over the past couple of weeks? To see that trend continue is something that I've loved to see as well. We talked about Illegal Monkey on their jump forward, too, just outside Squeaky Hardware. I mean, you're only about 1/100th of a second away from Squeaky Hardware, so literally it is so packed tight, and that's what happens when you get to this Q3 when everything's laid out on the line.
Well, now here comes the buzzer beater lap times. We're going to see one from Noni Dude if they can actually make it around the track in time. I'm not sure where they are on the track, but I still see that outlap indicator, so things are getting dicey. Things are getting dicey for Squeaky Hardware as well, who did hit the wall. And also, Noni Dude actually comes across the starting line with 5 seconds to spare, which means that his final lap from Noni Dude will count. So that's an interesting point to look out for. Also, 24K King, Jakai, and Mao are going on their last lap times, and it does look like 24K King has jumped up a few spots. So a big P6 move there.
Yeah, and a beautiful set of turns here, especially on turn 12 by Squeaky Hardware, using beautifully the curb over. They're not feeling at all. He's doing fantastic. Let's see if he's going to be able to still, pass Top Racing or no need to TJ in this occasion.
Well, Squeaky Hardware only has to find 0.04 of a second in order to pass Top Racing. Here comes the big moment of truth. This lap looks really good coming across the line.
Amazing.
It's a 1:30.8, and it is not enough. We are talking about 0.01, if my math serves me correctly, 2. We're talking about 0.12 of a second, and that's all that stands between P2 and P3. But also, there's one more driver, one more demon out on the track, and it's Noni Dude, who's looking to make a statement to the entire grid that they are not ready to play when it comes to their money, their success, and their tenure here in the Formula 7 Esports Cup. One more turn, a decent lap. The top right section of your screen will say it's a 1:30. I believe that was a 1:30.3. That was something incredible, something absurd, a masterclass from the leader.
Wow, this is a teacher. This is not a driver led anymore.
Wow.
What a work. And he actually went there again, keeping and locking himself up to the P1, transforming Top Racing in any other driver, to be honest, in this occasion. What a difference in time, TJ. What a gap.
Noni Dude sat P2 in Q1, P1 in Q2.